live as I'm walking up. Oi, it's slippery. So just let me get my glove on. So, job done. I'm now on my way home. Just going to walk up here. It's much warmer down here than up in where we are than it is up in Stecrani. And but you know, that was a good fix of that machine. It was very simple. It's a case of but I mean, it's a lesson in what to do in these type of things. They didn't touch any wires that they didn't understand, which is what's been a problem with these machines for ages, where they've something's gone wrong and they've pulled wires off or taped wires together, or God knows what they've done at times. Yeah, fell over. It's very slippery here today, and I keep saying to them every time I do one of these machines, don't touch the frigging wires. And I said to my boss, don't let them touch the wires. Well, my ex-boss, don't let them touch the wires. I'll come and fix it. And that's exactly what happened today. They didn't touch the wires. They didn't mess around with it. They didn't actually open anything up. And I got there, and it was a very simple fix for me, that. And it was simple because they hadn't messed around. If they'd have started pulling stuff off, and often the case is, especially in cold weather, when it's minus 70, it's like nothing like that here where I am now. Probably, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 where I am. And up there, minus 17. So very colder up there, very much colder. And what happens in them kind of temperatures is the wires, the insulation gets very cold and brittle. And if you start pulling wires off and they're very cold, it just snaps them. It snaps the insulation. And when you snap the insulation on wires, the next thing you know, snow gets on it, rain gets on it, it gets inside, and the wires literally rot from the inside. And luckily, they hadn't done that, and I was able to quickly diagnose. It wasn't much diagnosis actually. So what actually happened with this thing was, what happened is, that originally had a Honda motor in it, and Honda motors here, originals, are very expensive. And we did an experiment some years back when we first started putting these motors into these pile machines, and that was that the original pile machine, the first pile machine we had, had a 3-phase generator in the back, and we took it out, and my boss had seen other people who'd had motors put in them, and so we got an original Honda motor, went out hunting for a Honda motor, and we got a Honda motor and replaced the generator and all the gubbins that came with it. It's a 3-phase generator running a 3-phase motor straight onto the hydraulic pump, and we took that off and put a motor in it and the hydraulic pump straight onto the motor, the engine. Normal 4-cylinder or 2-cylinder engine, 4-stroke if you like, and they work great. And after a while, but I mean, the problem with these things is that whenever we'd put a generator in, they only last about a season. A 60,000 ruble generator, which is costing starting $600 generator. It doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot of money here, and they'd last only a season, or if a season. And so when we put the motor in, we're hoping that it would last a bit longer. It turned out they don't. Even if you get the top quality Honda generators that we got first, they just, again, 1 season. So we replaced them with Chinese motors, and the Chinese motors last exactly the same, if not slightly longer and slightly more powerful than the original Honda motors that we had. So what's happened with that pile machine is, again, somebody doesn't know electronics. Instead of putting the key start onto where it should be connected to. What they did, they used the key start that comes with the generator itself, so a little switch on there, instead of putting the wires to the proper thing. So when them guys got there today, or yesterday, somehow the original key start, so the original key start switches on the electronics, and then the other key start starts the motor. Somehow it happened is somebody had knocked off the key start, the original key start, so there's no power coming in. Now, I didn't know that motor had been replaced today. I got there and I thought, why is there no power? And the first thing I did was switch on the key start. He's like, oh, the light's on, what have you done? I was like, I just switched on the power, that's all. And too cold to go outside. Get a cup, some beans on toast. Yeah, I mean, a cuppa is what's coming next. It's going to be a cup of tea, followed by blini, followed by coffee, I think. But anyway, so I switched on the power came on. If you were there watching that live stream, and it took me a whole 1 second to work that out. And he says, so I saw them started beating. You've watched the live stream, you'll see the Kazina, which is the thing that holds the hammer inside, was jolting. I thought it was just frozen. And what happened was there's two electrolyte solenoids on the top of the hammer there, and for some reason I think they've probably got water in them or just got damp with the cold, and he's created a connection where it's jumping the Kazina and the hammer at the same time. So that's what was happening. That's why we know, if you're watching the live stream, you'll see we're trying to get them to separate, and it wasn't happening. I thought they were frozen. They thought it was frozen, and it was that. So when I got on the machine, then I took off the connectors, swapped them around just to check they hadn't been messed around with. That was fine. Cleaned them. We didn't even clean them really, just give them a bit of a tap. Put them back on again, screwed them back on, give them a twist into position, and then we tried it again. It worked. So all it was literally, the power was the switch. It took me a whole second to work that out, and the Kazina with the hammer in it took me another couple of seconds just to put tighten them up, basically get a better connection on the connectors that join onto the two electric solenoids up there. And she's working now. You saw the live stream, we got it working, and that's it's a good thing. I don't get paid for that. I mean, my boss always says, oh, what do I owe you? I guarantee he'll ring me later and say, what do I owe you? What do I owe you? And I'll say, I don't want anything for it. And the reason is because when I first came to Russia, I've told the story before probably. When I first came to Russia, I didn't speak much Russian, almost nothing. And he gave me that job. He actually used to live I live up there, and he used to live over there. And he was kind of a friend of ours kind of thing. He was a neighbour to a friend of ours, and my boss. And he was looking for someone to come and work who was reliable and good. And I didn't know anything about pilots then, but he took me on. He taught me everything. And he doesn't speak English, and he didn't speak Russian. But somehow he taught me everything about pilots, about the machines. Although he doesn't understand the electrics of them, I do. And he taught me everything about power foundations and all that, and paid me at the same time a good wage. And it enabled me to stay in Russia at that time and go straight to citizenship rather than having to come in and out of England, which I had been doing previously. He gave me a massive chance, and it was brilliant. And so I feel kind of indebted to him. I know he says, he always says, no, you don't owe me anything, blah blah blah. And I always feel indebted to him, so I never take money, and I just do it as a favour. That's all, as a friend, because he helped me out, and I kind of I was working for a long time, for about 4 years. Never had a problem, always paid me, always had work, never an issue. So I learned an awful lot from him. And I was actually, when we didn't have many power foundations at first, I was working with electrical installations. So I was doing house wiring, hearing, frame housing, hence why I know all about that. So I've learned a lot from him, more than I could ever repay back. And so that's why I do it for free. And I think it's a good thing sometimes if somebody does do something good in life that you can somehow pay them back, or at least not take more from them than what you do, you know, kind of thing. And so I feel, and it's always great, you know, because, you know, when these things come to life, I always get sort of a buzz out of it, you know, I've actually managed to fix them, because I'm not a qualified electrician or anything like that. I've worked on electrical installations, but that's under somebody, you know, supervisor. I'm not a qualified electrician, certainly not a qualified engineer to work on those kind of machines, but I can do it, and there's very few people here who can. And the reason they can't do it here, a lot of people, is because they're modified machines, basically. What they've got is a hydraulic system based on a crane controller. So a crane controller, east, north, south, west, and this is being converted into, the tracks would be west and east, whatever it is. And then there's the hydraulic controlled winch and the hammer and the tail thing, we call it hot stick. And so they're a bit complicated to work out, and a lot of them don't have controls, and I managed to install controls. I've done 3, I think, or 4 of them now, where I've installed controllers. He's actually getting rid of the old machines without control and just going fully remote control, which is great, because if you've got a really muddy place, you can literally sit on the machine and control it with a remote control without having to get all muddy. So it's much easier, and you can also, if you've got one person working on a foundation, that one person can control the machine without having to sort of. When we first did it, we had our first machine we ever used didn't have any remote controls on, and we used to have to tie a piece of rope around the handle to drop the hammer. So if you're working alone, put the pile underneath, and then drop the hammer onto it with a piece of string. It worked, but it wasn't kind of great. And now these machines all have full-on remote controls, you know, you can do everything with it. You can move them, you can so it makes it a lot easier for the guys, you know. So I'm always happy. I get kind of, like I say, I get a bit of a thrill a kick out of seeing them come to life if there's a problem that's been going on for days, and this one's having problems. Obviously, they're stuck there. Gone 15 piles, but I mean, you think 15 piles is not a lot to do that in a day, right? In minus 15, 17 where it was there today, yeah, it's a whole new ball game. Ground frozen, not even that so much, but everything's frozen. Difficult to get the machine to start up and all that. So basically, 15 piles, which should take sort of probably less than 1 day in summertime, can take 2, 3, 4 days in wintertime. So the amount of money you get paid for it is much less, because you're only getting paid per pile you pin, not how long you've been, sort of thing. So you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money if you're not efficient. So when a machine goes down like that, it really is. And they ring me and say, "Oh, can you come and fix it?" Yeah, of course I'm going to go and fix it as quick as I can. No problem. I paid for a taxi on the way back, so I'm not complaining. I got to see some friends that I've got, work colleagues and friends. Got to have a chat with them and what have you. Had a laugh. So really, it was worth more than any money, you know. Worth than any money reward to just go and have a laugh and a chat and see some more friends and see them get a kick out of it by seeing this machine come back to life, and you get to see it in a live stream as well. So what more can you say, you know? But anyway, that's a life story finished for today. And my wife is going to Sevelos today. I'll be all alone and in the house, so that'll be fun. I'm not all alone, actually. We've got a guest staying, and we've got 2 guests staying, actually. The Russian girl, of course, if you follow the stories. Heating's still broken. Probably going to go down and have a look at that either tonight or probably tomorrow now, and get that sorted out. Can't fix the heating, actually. The cold water in the radiators busted all the radiators. There's 10 of them broken, and the pipe is a complete mess down there. So I'm not sure how I'm going to fix it for her, but do my best. I'm not going to live stream it because it's in somebody's personal house, and it's not right to do that. Same as I wouldn't live stream from my own house. So anyway, thanks for joining me on this little trip, and thanks for those who joined me on the live stream. If you haven't seen that live stream, it's being processed, so it'll be probably watchable within a day or two. I'm not sure how long. And that's about it, really. So, wherever you are in the world, peace to you. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again.